Hello, everybody. Jasper Dringler from the National Chimney Sweep Guild here to introduce this week's NCSG and CSIA Survive and Thrive panel discussion. This week it is entitled Master Your Marketing. And I would like to introduce to you an amazing gentleman who has done a ton of work over the last few months to better the industry and to keep sweeps like you informed. So it is my pleasure to once again introduce John Meredith.
Wow, thank you, Jasper. That's not sure I deserve all that, but I appreciate that. Really excited today to have a couple of awesome guests, guys that I respect and in their field of knowledge for sure, and respect them as friends and as businessmen as well. But first I want to thank you, Jasper, and I want to thank Chuck Roydhouse for the leadership you guys have provided during the last 6 months. It's been probably one of the most challenging times that I've ever been in business. And for Megan and Penny and Russ, you guys have done a great job. And for the task force that has really helped put all this together. So before we get started, I want to remind everyone, if you would save the date, mark your calendar. So September 24th, we're having Alan Rush, and he's going to talk about proposals and some of the money-making secrets of making compelling proposals and presentations. And I promise you, if you listen to this presentation, that you will close more sales, and which is going to mean, what I love about that is if you can change how you present things and close more sales, you're using a high form of leverage, right? Because you don't have to do anything else. It's already stuff that's there. You're just taking advantage of it and learning how to increase the closing percentages. So don't forget to mark your calendar for September 24th. You'll be seeing more about that here soon. And one other thing before we get started, I've got a t-shirt here that I put together. It's called, you can see it says, "Keep calm, sweep, and wash your hands." So for everybody that participates in asking questions, if we choose your question today, then we want to send you that t-shirt. So we may not be able to get to everybody's questions, but I think this discussion will be we want it to be a back and forth and a lively discussion so that you get everything you can out of all we're going to be presenting today. We've got a couple of gentlemen here that are experts in their field, and we want to be sure to get our questions answered. So with that, I want to introduce Taylor Hill and Carter Hawkins with Spark Marketer. So before we kind of get started on our discussion today, guys, I just kind of want, just tell me what you guys are seeing in the industry right now. I know you guys service hundreds of sweep clients, and some are up, some are down, but just give us a general read of that you guys are kind of on the front lines, and you see a lot of a broad spectrum of business across many geographic regions, and some rural, some more urban. But just kind of give us an overview of what you guys are seeing right now, kind of at a high level.
Sure. Thanks for having us on. This is, I think it's still important to be talking about these things. And you're right, we see a lot of clients from all over the U.S. and to say that any one thing is the same everywhere would be impossible. Everything is different. It just depends on the market, depends on the state, depends on so many different factors about what's going on for every business that we work with. And ultimately, though, we know that if no matter where you are, what matters more is how you're choosing to go after the business that you have in front of you. It's more about what you're doing than it is about the services that you offer or anything else. It's about how you're offering those services and getting in front of the people that you need to get to with the right message, because the message is a moving target. It's always changing. So that's been the most constant thing is the change. I mean, everything in our industry has always changed, and Taylor can attest to that as well. But we are watching it change faster than it ever has, and responding accordingly just to keep everybody in front of the people that they need to be in front of. So, I mean, that's a kind of a.
So, are you seeing some guys are up, some guys are down, everybody's flat? What are you seeing out there?
Taylor, you want to talk about the conversations we're having right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you the most interesting thing, those that you might think are down aren't. they they may not they may have had a down month or two, but when everything kind of cleared out, now they're just really going gangbusters. And one of the things a lot of us have talked about is the quality of work. In other words, they're not getting as many, sweeps as inspections, but what they are getting is a lot of repair work, a ton of repair work, a lot of outside repair work, and now starting to get some inside repair work, change outs, big jobs that they're just not used to at this point in time. We've kind of thought about it between several of us, and I think people are at home and they're just sitting around looking at stuff. They're not able to go on vacation, aren't able to do some of the things that they thought they were going to do in the summertime, and so they've got some expendable cash and they're like, hey, let's get this done. And I think that that's one of the reasons that they're seeing a lot of really big jobs happening. Now, with that said, there are regions of the country right now, oil is depressed. So if you're in an area that's being affected by oil prices and COVID, a little bit more challenging. Out in the West, fires, a little bit more challenging because it's not just the one thing. It's kind of compacted. So there are areas in the country that are being affected by more than just COVID, that are being more affected, I would say, than the rest.
So COVID's kind of exacerbating whatever issues are going on out there. And
yeah.
I know, like in Nashville, y'all had a tornado or something that went through, earlier this year. And I think there's a lot of work down there and through that whole belt down there where those high winds have kind of destroyed a lot of chimneys and whatnot. So one of the reasons why I put this together today, I wanted to kind of talk about, how things have changed in the last 6 months. And so obviously this is one of the most challenging periods that I think I've ever seen in my 30+ year career of staving off bankruptcy. So talk a little bit about some of the tactics and strategies that you've seen that are working and just, in the last 6 months. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
So it's really interesting that I would tell you the reaction in the very beginning. We had 3 very distinct reactions. We had people that just absolutely panicked and shut everything down. Some of those people justifiably were right outside of Manhattan, right outside of Boston. And there was so much uncertainty in the beginning and nobody knew really how to handle it or what we're going to do, that they just kind of knee-jerk reacted and said, we got to shut everything down. We're not working. We had some of that. We had people that literally didn't even know it was going on until it got right on top of them. So we would talk to them and they're like, yeah, okay. But it was almost like that's for somebody else, until it kind of got right up on top of them. And then they realized, oh my gosh, this is real. We do need to do some different things. And then the other side were people that said, you know what, this is another thing. I'm going to market through it. I'm going to go through it. I've always done this and I'm not going to stop anything. In fact, several of them said, we're going to double down because there's so many people pulling back. And I'll tell you, those guys are really doing really well and continue to do well through the whole thing and are having banner years.
So of the clients that you've had that have done the best through this, what have they done differently than some of the clients? I mean, take out the geographic issues, but just in general, what have some of the clients that you've seen that have come through this period strong done that the others maybe did not?
I would say the real differentiator between those that are having great years and those that have struggled is less about geographic location or what state they're in, what their governor is doing, whether there's a lockdown or whatever. It has more to do with the willingness of the business owner to try new things. That resilience mindset, that attitude of, this is a business reality, regardless of what I think about the health perspectives of this, it's, I absolutely have to respond to the fact that I know some of my customers are concerned about this and that I need to get in front of that. I need to have answers for their new questions about how I'm going to keep them safe, how we're going to still be able to do the business that we would normally do in a regular year, how we can still do that for them, perform those services for them, and even do these bigger projects that are now a lot of people are willing to do right now. So yeah, it's the willingness to try new things, and we've tried a lot of new things. I mean, the virtual appointments were something that we
Yeah, I was
did.
going to say, can you give me some examples
Yeah.
of some of the things that you're talking about?
That was a tactic that was a brilliant stroke right in the beginning, and
The virtual chimney inspections, and we did a
Yes.
webinar on that. If you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend go back and watch that. That was a great webinar.
And for some people in some markets, it didn't do much. It wasn't a big driver, but what it speaks to is, hey, this is a company that is acting in the moment to do and address whatever contingencies need to be thought about and addressed. And it speaks to the quality of the organization. And when you have a customer who's trying to make a decision about who to call to do the work that needs to be done, and there's many choices in that market to choose from, many sweeps that they could call, the ones that might get the call, and it might not be a virtual appointment they book, but they're going to choose a company that is reacting and positioning themselves as on the forefront of what's going on right now. And that's been huge. That's been a reassuring factor that we see it all the time in the reviews. And that's one of the ways that we can really tell, whether or not something is really effective is just the online customer reviews that we see all the time for customers. They mention these things like, well, they showed up and they had a mask and gloves and they were prepared. They told us that they went through a sanitization process in their truck before they even showed up in the door. They told us what to expect. They, very respectful. I mean, these are the terms and the kinds of phrases and things that we're starting to see show up in reviews. We also see it show up when they don't do those things, but they said they would. And we can talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, and reviews are important right now for sure, because people are looking to see evidence of, is this business taking my concerns, these new concerns that I have, seriously?
Yeah, some of the webinars we did, we talked about contactless appointments and that kind of stuff. And that is one thing that, that I know a lot of, so what I think marketing is designed to do is to really facilitate your prospect's decision-making process. So when they see your website, they see your trucks and your systems all working in concert with each other. That's a big driver, that there's consistency. And one of the things that you can do, that I've seen a lot of businesses, even in my neck of the woods, they show up and they're not doing anything different. And everybody else, I think the guys that really got on that, were showing up and trying to be respectful, not touch anything, wear masks, disinfect stuff. I think those things are really important. But if you say you're going to do them and you don't do them, what I heard you saying is those things are showing up in reviews. So people are going, the guys didn't really do what they said they were going to do. And so you kind of lose some confidence in them as a company. I think it's really important to, we talk in marketing, there's something called an inside reality and an outside reality, right? So the outside reality is what you see on the website. The inside reality is how close you match or do what you say you're going to do. And if your inside reality and your outside reality are consistent and congruent, then you're going to basically you're going to get more mind share. And it's really all about mind share. So you mentioned reviews. Let's talk about reviews for a little bit. Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but I did want to spend a little time on reviews. So reviews are something that I think are very, very important on a number of fronts. But one of the things reviews are good for, if you ever want to sell your company, or you want to, if you've got 500 4.5-star reviews, you can find a buyer for that business. You can't, I don't know if you could put a number on how many reviews are worth, but certainly if a guy's wanting to sell his business and he's got a ton of positive reviews, that's a business that somebody's going to want, right? Because they're going to get into this business. Even somebody that's in the business that only has 30 reviews would want that business to tie onto that. So reviews are important from that standpoint, but they're also important from social proof, and you guys can So just talk about that a little bit. Tell me about, why you feel reviews are so important.
So I'm going to jump in here really quick. One of the things I will tell you is reviews have been important for the last 12 years. They haven't lost their importance. And for those people that are still out there not really have some kind of a systematic program or system or something to get reviews, they simply are missing the boat. Reviews, it's like the BBB. We used to call the BBB and say, "Are you legitimate? Are you who you say you are?" Well, now people may still do that, and the BBB is still a legitimate place to go and ask those things. But in today's world, people are going out and just reading reviews. They are looking to see if it's the same thing you just said about the consistency, John. If I go to somebody's website and they are telling me they're the best, and then I go look at their reviews and they have 3-star reviews, that's as good as they can get, I know they're lying. It's inconsistent. There's a disconnect. So you can't tell people that you're one thing and then go out in the world and do something totally different and prove otherwise. And that really is both the beauty and the danger of reviews. So let's talk about the flip side of when you have bad reviews. If you get bad, and I'm going to take Yelp out of this thing, because Yelp's algorithm and how they calculate this is unfair. I don't care what anybody says; it's just unfair. But I'm really going to talk about Facebook and Google and anywhere else you get reviews. If you have bad reviews, it doesn't matter where you come up on the page. It just does not matter. You are not going to have a good business. You are not going to grow. You're not going to flourish. I've gotten several calls over the last several years of wanting us to come in and help them with marketing, and I can't help them because their reviews are so bad. You see, they'll waste all kind of money for us to rank them and do all the things we do, because I know somewhere between 82 and 92%, depending on who you read on what day, your clients, potential customers, are going and reading those reviews, and if they're bad, they're not going to use you, period. Dead stop, end of story. So if you have bad reviews, what you must do first is work on your operations and get that part of your business fixed. So you got to do things in the right order. Everybody thinks that marketing is first. Well, marketing is a part of being first, but if you market and you can't follow through and get good reviews, it's no longer first. You got to fix that problem.
So the battleground used to be in the Yellow Pages. If you wanted to get into an area, you ran a Yellow Page ad, and the bigger the Yellow Page ad, the more calls you got. And the Yellow Page ads were also bad because they were written by the Yellow Page people. They all looked the same. So it was an easy place to make a win if you could differentiate yourself. But today, I think the battleground is really reviews. So tell me about. So I'm relatively new to this business, or I want to really hard focus on reviews. And I started talking about reviews, when reviews before it was popular. And I think Chuck Roydhouse will attest to this, because he said, "Man, you were talking about reviews. I didn't get on a review train until a year or two later. I wish I'd gotten in early." I think guys like Stoner got in really early on the review train and just crushed it, and just business just took off like a rocket. So tell me just give me a system real quick that we can share with our members. How do I get reviews? How do I get good reviews? First of all, you got to, provide good service, but then you've got to ask for those reviews and present a system in place to get those, and then everybody's got to be trained. And that really, if I was in business today, in the service business, I would incent my guys on reviews and nothing else. So tell me how to get reviews.
So I just read something the other day and it made me laugh. In today's world, after we know about reviews, do you realize almost 80% of businesses never, ever ask for them? That's the first thing.
Which is good for the people watching this webinar, because
absolutely
the bar is so low. If you just put a simple system in place and just make it part of your service program, you can win.
Yes.
And
like-
it doesn't take long, you know, to go from never asking for reviews to becoming, you know, review healthy, if you will, online, and being, you know, being competitive just with reviews compared to other companies.
And the other thing I think what is cool about reviews is it really, I talked to Clay Lamb about this, when he got hundreds of reviews that were 4.5, 5-star, and it changed the conversation. People didn't call and say, hey, how much you charge to clean a chimney? They call up and say, wow, I read your reviews. When can you guys come out? So it kind of changed the whole conversation, and it just made life a lot easier. So tell us how to get reviews.
All right. So we've tried many different systems, and goodness knows there's a lot of them out there. You know, some of them you can spend a lot of money on to, you know, get reviews, and they're pretty sophisticated. You know, it'll send multiple emails, and you know, it'll ask for the review in multiple ways. If it's a bad review, then, or if it's bad feedback, then it privately goes to the business owner to be able to address. If it's a good 4 or 5 stars, then they send them on to Google to be able to say what they want to say. We've tried those, and they work. They are successful. It just adds layers of complexity that in our experience, most of our clients would just rather avoid. So our thing is, look, you need to be asking for reviews. Your people in the trucks usually know whether or not they've done a good job for a client, and they know whether that client is happy before they leave the home. So ask that client for a review, and you can be relatively sure that you're going to get a good one. So we know that if you ask for a review while you're in front of the client versus when you get back to the office and 2 days later, there's an email that gets sent out to the customer, and that email looks all fancy and, you know, like this big marketing newsletter sort of thing, then those don't get as good a response as when you're standing in front of the customer, you're doing the final walkthrough. Well, Mrs. Smith, let's look at what we did, you know, and here's the pictures and everything else, and these are our recommendations. And but I think we've done everything that we were called here to do today. Are you happy with the service that we offer? Oh yeah, you guys do. You're great every year. I really appreciate it. Well, I appreciate hearing that. And in fact, you know, our business relies on the good word and reviews of customers just like you. Would you be willing, as a longtime customer, to just leave us a review on Facebook or Google? Do you have an account on either one of those? And would you be willing? If so, I can just text you a link real quick on my phone, right to your cell phone, and you can just click on that link, and then it'll take you right to the place on Google or Facebook where you can leave a review. Would that be okay? And when you're asking them right there, right in the moment, then, you know, the customer's not going to say no. The customer's going to say, oh yeah, sure. Okay, great. What's your cell phone number? And I'll just text that to you. And then you wait for the text to come in. Maybe you walk around, clean up some tools, load up the truck, and then you come back by for one last, did you get that text? Oh, you did. Well, let's just go. I'll show you real quick. Just go ahead and click on it. You see where it, and you just literally walk them through. You see where it, okay, you got to scroll up a little bit there. Okay, right there. See where the stars are? Okay, you're ready to go right there. It looks like you're already logged in. So I'm going to leave you and go on to my next appointment. But thank you again so much for your continued support in business. And I look forward to reading that review because we always talk about them and read them when they come up. So thank you very much, and you're gone. Now that, I mean, that's the customer's right there. It's present in the moment. There's no time that's lapsed between when that truck rolls away and when they're going to leave a review. So that is by far the most effective strategy of all of them that we've tried. And it doesn't require expensive systems and feedback management, you know, protocols and all of that. It's just super simple.
I like simple. I know Kevin Russell does that. Our friends down at Warrior Horse in Louisiana. He just, you know, goes right to their computer and pulls up the link and says, there you go. And the other thing that would really be good, you could use the law of reciprocity here. So Skip Criswell, Sweep Out East, he, at the end of each sweep job, he has a basket. And in the basket are a few gifts like fire starters and maybe a glove, you know, fire glove, or, you know, a few things that people might, you know, use a fireplace. And so he says, you know, I just want to thank you for being a great customer. Also, would just like to give you, you know, a gift from our gift basket today. And, you know, they always, you know, they pull something out. It might be worth $5, $10, $15, something like that. But, you know, once you give somebody a gift, then they're obligated to give you something. So that is another strong way to kind of reinforce that and leave a really good taste in someone's mouth, you know, right before they sit down and write about how amazing you are, right? So but they, that's almost guaranteed that they're gonna, it's a law of reciprocity. You smile at somebody on the street, what do? They don't grimace at you, they smile back. So you're using that law of reciprocity. You give somebody a small gift. Now they feel like, hey, hey, we need to do something for you. So that's a cool way to do it too.
Absolutely. You mentioned real quick, you mentioned Kevin Russell is one of my favorite people on the planet. And we talk a lot about reviews because he was very, very successful. The rate at which he was getting positive reviews was so good. I just asked him about it. And of course, he's a horse guy, but his comment was, well, you can lead a horse to water. But he changed it up. He said, you can lead a horse to water, but, and most of the time, I can't remember what he said. You can lead a horse to water. And when you do, there's a better chance that they're going to actually drink. So, doing it right there in front of the customer and leading them to that point of actually leaving a review, that's how he was getting all of his results.
So Carter just gave you an amazing script. So I would highly encourage you to listen to this and even let this be a great training webinar for your employees to talk about.
I wanted to touch on that. We train on all kinds of things, but one of the things very few people train on is reviews. And every single owner should be training everyone in their company, including the people, their CSRs, everybody ought to know how to ask for a review properly. It just will come in handy. It across the board, you should do that. Train people.
So, couple of questions come in, and you guys are going to get T-shirts. So be sure to email Penny your ship to address and your shirt size. The T-shirt is keep calm, sweep, and wash your hands. So thank you for participating in our discussion today. A couple of questions I want to get to, and then I want to talk about your location strategy that we talked about. We had a call a couple of days ago to prepare for this, and you mentioned something that I really want to talk about today. So before we do that, I want to get to so how do you set up a link ahead of time? So how do you set up your review space so you can show them that link?
Sure, great question. Facebook, there's actually a tab on your Facebook business page where those reviews show up. When you open up that page, you can look up in your address bar on your browser, and where the link is on the page that you are, that's the link that you want. If you're on the page where the reviews show up, that's the page you want to send people directly to. You can literally just go up to the address bar and copy out that link, open it up in a browser on your phone or on your technician's phone, and then you can bookmark that link to where it just becomes a little icon on their home screen. And all they have to do is literally click that link and they have the place to take them to it. There's different ways, but taking that link and getting it onto your customer's phone, that's one of the best ways to do it.
You created a little.
Yeah, just a little like text app that works, that will text the company links.
Oh, nice.
For Facebook, Google, and Yelp directly to the customer, depending on which.
On Google, you claim your business site, and then so you take them to. So walk us through the Google.
Yeah, Google changes their link a lot. So, and it's one of these super long links that just, goes on for days. And so that one's a little more difficult to get. But if you have a Google My Business page, you can get that link. Right now, I mean, I could walk you through, but by the time this goes out and 2 weeks later, somebody views it, it may be a different link. So it does change a lot, and we have to stay on top of that. If the person who asked the question, if you'd like to know what that link is, we can help you find it.
So how do you ask for review if you're an inspection-based company and deliver bad news consistently, when in reality you only get 20 to 25% return on inspections? So would you only ask for reviews if you get the work, or so I guess if you're doing an inspection and you're not doing a service call, you're not really. You're not maybe as easily to wow them, and you're usually telling them bad stuff, right? So
that's fair. Here's my rule of thumb. When you're in front of the customer, you can read them. If you've been doing this for a while, even bad news doesn't mean that a customer was unhappy with the service that you provided. And if you can tell that even though they're a little crestfallen, they're not going to be able to use their fireplace this winter unless they do $6,000 worth of repair work, they just in talking to them, you'll get a sense of whether or not they feel like you did them right, that they got a square deal and the information that you presented to them was at least accurate. And you can read them. And if you feel like you can get a good review from that person, if you're leaving that conversation to go to the next appointment or that appointment to go to the next one, and you feel like that person is at least satisfied with, they were glad that they called you and not somebody else, even though you brought them bad news, they're going to leave a good review. So just my rule of thumb is, if you feel like you can get the good review from somebody, ask for the review.
So it's kind of just reading the customer, and I know we brought you some bad news today, but the reality is, this thing can be fixed. But I just would you mind reviewing, the throwing us my inspection report or something like that? We really try hard to make sure our customers get, we get a good inspection, and because we really care about their safety, kind of thing.
And John, real quick before we leave reviews, one of the things I want to tell everybody on here, don't be afraid of bad reviews. I cannot tell you how many people actually get business after answering the bad reviews.
Responding to it, yeah.
How you respond to a bad review says so much about you and your company. Everybody knows things don't always go right, but what they want to be assured with is when things don't go right, that they'll be treated right by the company.
Yeah.
You can respond to those reviews and get business.
And if you need help with that, certainly you guys, Brandtastic is another one that can help. But you do need to respond to those, and you need to, that's very important, because you can get a lot of business from, I saw that bad review and I saw how you guys responded to it. That's the company I want to do business with,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these companies talk about, like Yelp, you're not allowed to solicit for reviews. So, but is asking for a review, you're not telling them to give us a positive review, you're just saying, give us a review. Tell us a little bit about that. There's a little bit of I think some misunderstanding in most service companies about, should I ask, should I not ask? Is that soliciting, or, what, give me some rules around what you can and cannot do.
Well, the biggest rule is you can't pay somebody. In other words, you don't, incentivize.
So that's what solicit in Yelp's definition.
Yeah, that's
would mean. You could ask for.
Well, Yelp's definition of solicitation of any reviews is if you open your mouth and even talk about reviews.
Or provide them a link.
Provide them a link, do anything.
Okay.
But that it's to the nth degree. This is why Yelp has such a bad name. Because the reality is,
in the review world, I would care more about Facebook and Google than I would Yelp.
yes.
Well, we certainly do. But there are markets still,
there are markets,
especially in the Northeast, where Yelp has a big stronghold. And if you're in that market or not, right?
Okay.
If Yelp is one of the places that's talked about frequently, then that you need to really pay attention to Yelp. Most of our clients are not in markets where that's the case. Or I'd say a good percentage of them. And for those that don't need to really pay attention to Yelp, we tell them to ignore Yelp. Don't even talk about them. Don't even.
Well, I use Yelp for restaurants, but I've never used it for service companies.
Right.
Yelp was started in the West, so West Coast. Most of the West Coast companies, California, Oregon, Washington, those really are the ones that pay attention to Yelp. And then there's pockets.
So what would you recommend I do if I'm in a Yelp market, so to speak? Would you just
if you're in a Yelp market, the first thing that I would ask a customer is, hey, do you have a profile on Yelp? And if they say yes, I would just mention, that's a great place to review us if you feel like we did good work. And then that's it.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's better than nothing,
Yeah. You're not saying, would you go review us? You're not asking for the review. You're just saying, oh, you have a profile. That's a great place to review us. And you're not saying good or bad. So if somebody says solicitation, I would say in that, it says, I never asked for the review. I just let them know that that's a good place to go if they wanted to do it.
Yeah. And Adam Burgundy asked a great question here. He says it's beneficial for the scheduler to plant a seed that, hey, at the end of the appointment, we're going to ask for a review. And the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was going to bring that up. I'm glad he mentioned it. Business is all about setting an expectation about what's going to happen if we work together. Yeah. And the better you're able to set that expectation and fulfill it, the smoother it'll go and the more cooperation from your customer you're going to get. So absolutely, from the beginning, the CSR, when talking to somebody and booking that appointment, needs to at least, you know, just give a cursory overview of here's what you can expect on the day of your appointment. We're going to arrive, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then we're going to make sure that everything is done to your satisfaction. At the end, you'll be given a chance and a link to leave us a review if you're happy with the work that we've done.
And I think
So,
if you do a pre-appointment email too, you want to mention it in that as well, right?
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
You want to put the links in your emails, on your invoices, in the places where, you know, people are going to encounter you. You're not going to see a lot of clicks from those places, but it reinforces, right? In marketing, we talk a lot about the rule of 7 touches, right? It takes repeating the same message in a consistent way up to 7 times before somebody finally goes, oh, so I should leave a review. So yeah, reinforce that message in as many places in your communication as you can.
Well, when you think about it, you know, we're all bombarded with over 3,000 marketing messages a day, right? So, I mean, it's on everything: the coffee cup you drink, the can you're holding, the pencil, the billboards, the truck signs. I mean, you just get numb to it. So, you know, I just relate to one of my. Just recently, I got into golfing. I suck, but you know, I own clubs, and so one of the guys on the golf course had this fancy Bushnell, you know, speaker thing. You pull up to the ball and it tells you how far away you are from the back of the, you know, the green to the front of the green. And, you know, I probably saw that thing 3 or 4 times. I Googled it maybe once, looked at it on, you know, and you know, but then I think probably so I started getting ads for it. So I started seeing it and becoming familiar with it. And then I saw it on the golf course again the other day, and I thought, I'm going to get me one of those. But, you know, it took me a while to warm up to it. I had to see that message several times before I, you know, actually got it. So, but they probably had thousands of advertisements that I didn't see, you know, leading up to those 5 or 6, 7 that I did see that I, you know, or those touches that I finally pulled the trigger. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was. That's so true. And what you hear or what you see, those touches have to be positive reinforcements, right? If any of those touches were negative, like, you know, you're at the club and you're listening to somebody else who's ragging on that product and talking about how awful it was, it's going to set you back a few paces in your progress toward making the purchase that you've been considering. So that's why positive reviews are so important and why responding to negative reviews are so important. But, you know, there's this dog pile effect that happens where if somebody leaves a scathing 1-star review, oftentimes without a response from the owner to that review quickly, it can actually start to skew and create this environment where more people who might have put a 4-star review, they're going to read that 1-star review before they leave their 4-star, and it may actually take their 4-star down to a 2 or, you know, a 3. Because there's this dogpile effect. We don't want to be saying things that other people would disagree with. And we want to be, you know, we want to say things that are in concert with what other people are already voicing. And so you get 2 or 3 reviews negative in a row, and it starts an accelerated path toward a place you don't want to be there.
Well, it's really important to get to those people and, you know, and love up on them and do everything you can to make sure that they're satisfied in the end. And sometimes they'll pull it down or change it or add to it, you know. But so yeah, just so you know, all you guys that have asked questions, be sure to give Penny your email, we'll have your email address. Email your shirt size and your ship to address, and we'll send you the shirt. So I want to talk a little bit about this location strategy. So we had a call the other day, kind of getting prepped for this call, and this is a brilliant strategy, and I don't know if we should talk about it or not because it's so good, and the people that are listening are going to get so much value from this that they'll probably start throwing money at us. But I don't know if we want to talk about it or not. But should we mention the location strategy?
Well, we can. I've mentioned it to a whole lot of people, but I've had very few people actually do it. The ones that have done it, I think they are extremely happy that they've done it. And they tell other people that they've done it. And they still
so
do
let's
it.
preface this. Don't do this unless you want to make tons of money. I know you.
That's it. If you want to do it.
So I'm sure you don't want to do that. So just
Well,
why don't
and
you just mute your thing for the next 5 minutes and we'll talk about the location.
let's set it in a context too, because
Yeah.
the reason that it came up in the call before was the need right now in the middle of a pandemic, when call volumes might be lower for someone, the need to expand their area to keep
Yeah.
those
Yes.
call volumes up, keep everybody fully employed. So people are looking to expand a little bit and take on maybe some of the outlying areas around the areas they normally serve.
Yeah. So when we talked about that the other day, I was a sweep from Jasper, Indiana, was in our office the other day, came up for that CSI masonry class that Chris Pryor put on. And we were talking a little bit about business, and he's in Jasper, Indiana. I think Owensboro is probably an hour-ish away, but there was nobody in Owensboro, and he started getting a few calls. So he started marketing down there, and he's getting a ton of traction. It's almost doubled his business. So, it's a little bit of a hassle drive down there, but if you schedule right, you can, driving an hour to make a couple grand is not the end of the world. So tell me about the location strategy and how White won. Well, first of all, share the story about the handyman. Kind of going to.
Okay, so I actually did a site review for a handyman, and so here's kind of how it worked. He had 2 websites covering 2 territories, and he had one part of a territory that he had almost 400 reviews, and the reviews were like 4.8% or stars. So it was fantastic reviews. But where he really wanted to work was a county right next to him. And so what he had done is gone in and created some locations on Google. So he had 3 different Google locations. 2 of them had 0 reviews whatsoever. The one that had reviews had a couple of them, it was 3 stars. And so, it wasn't showing up at the top of maps. And if you got in that location, there's nothing to see. And there's so many other handyman in that area that had 5 stars, a bunch of them. And so it was a waste. So when I asked him what he was trying to accomplish, that's what he was doing. He was trying to expand his area. So you don't expand your area with map spam. Okay. And so here's what a lot of people are doing right now. And if you're doing it, you really need to stop, because you get caught, it can affect even your good locations. People go out, they find a building, an empty lot, something, and they create a location on Google. And they think that Google is going to show them on the map. And in fact, depending on competition, you might actually get shown on the map. But if you don't have any reviews, your hours aren't showing, it's not filled out, that location is not worked at all, it reeks of spam, and you're going to get caught. I mean, because Google's starting to see this, and their people are starting to complain about it that are legitimate. And so Google is really doing some things right now to fight that kind of thing. But there's a way that you can get legitimate locations. So here's the thing. If you are really serious about going into an area, get a legitimate location. I've got people that spend up to $700 a month on a legitimate location, and it is the best ROI they get of anything else they do, because they kill it in that location. What happens is you think, oh, I've got to support this. I got to put a person there. I've got to do this. No, you don't. You just have to have a legitimate location, which is not a mailbox. It's not one of these shared office buildings, but you can share a space like an industrial space. That's something you can do. You can rent an office and call it a sales office, to where you take appointments there. That's okay, but you need to have a sign out front, and you need to have a separate phone number. And here's the real key. You've got to work that location. You can't just establish it and not put reviews on it, not actively work that location. If you do that, that location will turn into a really good money area for you, just hands down. But a lot of people, they're afraid to do it. They don't want to work more than the one location. It takes some work, but if you do it, yeah.
But when you think about it, if you wanted to get, years ago, this is before most of these guys will probably remember, there used to be something called a Yellow Page book. You ask most guys under 40, what's that? But so anyway, so if you wanted to get into a different market, you would run a Yellow Page ad of that market. Problem solved. But you would spend $500, $600, $700 a month in that Yellow Page ad easy anyway. So the way I looked at it, when you said that the other day, I thought, well, that's kind of like just running a Yellow Page ad. You're gonna pay for that anyway. But that location strategy is brilliant, because I know in some cases, like you might be in a burb, but your main area is, the burb next to you, and you're not in there. So when people Google, a chimney sweeps in that burb, you're not going to show up first, but that's your primary working area. So the way you solve that problem is you actually get a physical location, put up a sign, open up a sales office. You could even throw a couple wood stoves in there and have a little showroom, or some liner or whatever you do if people want to stop in. But you basically stop in there once a week, or have someone gather the mail and mail it to you. But you're right, you got to work that area and actually get reviews. It takes a little more doing, but we're in a kind of a time where to get a little more, you got to do a little more. The days of just hanging up a shingle and waiting for the phone to ring are pretty much gone. If you're going to be successful in this business or any business, it's like going to the salt mine and putting in your time. It's unfortunately, there's not a lot of easy money out there anymore. It's just, I heard a funny definition of an entrepreneur once. It's somebody who works 12 hours a day for themselves, so they don't have to work 8 hours a day for somebody else. And that's pretty much true. If you're in business for yourself, you're grinding it out 5, 6, 7 days a week, and it's just hard. But there's no reason why you can't make a lot of money while you're doing it and have fun. So anyway, I just love that strategy, because I thought it was brilliant. And so tell me about, you said there was a guy, tell me there was a success story you shared with me that.
So I have 3 people that have been long-term clients, and the one I'm going to tell you has 4 locations, and he dominates an entire area. I'm not even going to tell you where it is, because he dominates. And this past year, he came to us and he said, look, there's a problem, because all these companies are popping up on the maps and they're not legitimate, and all of mine are legitimate. Do I just need to go do what they do? And I said, no, because eventually those companies are going to get caught. And guess what's happened? One by one, they've kind of been knocked off. There's still a few of them there. But I'm telling you, Google is paying attention to map spam. So if you're not doing it legitimately, you need to do it legitimately. $700 is what? 2 jobs for most of you? Is that about right? 2 or 3 jobs, maybe?
Most of the chimney sweeps I see, if your customer dollar average isn't over $700, you're probably not going to be in business long. If you take all your customers divided by all of your gross receipts, you get an average of dollars generated per customer. And $700 is the low end. Guys like, I know other guys that are in the, close to 2,000, and I know Stoner tracks that. And I think he's well up into, over $1,700 per customer, probably even higher. That was a few years ago, because I know they've been getting to a lot of bigger jobs. But
I think the main thing that I would like to say is not to be short-sighted in your marketing. There's a lot of different ways to do things, and not all of it is just throw up a website and get online. If you're not working things properly, just putting a website up online is not necessarily going to help you.
And this strategy speaks to more than just looking to expand or grow territory. This is also something that we've used as a strategy to help somebody who had a lifelong dream of moving out, outside the city limits to a farm with, 17 acres. And they were going to, put their business out there too and build a really great warehouse and, just run it out of there. But they knew that if they left their current location in the city center and moved out there, their business address was going to change and their business was going to fall off the map on Google. And so this was a strategy to help them accomplish a lifelong goal, but at the same time, keep their business located in a place that was going to continue, generating that presence marketing.
I love that. So that's a beautiful thing. I love it when because you're right. You know, you move out of town, you move out into the country, and now all of a sudden your business isn't relevant anymore. And so it's a great strategy for that. There's a lot of. So one of the things I love about you guys is you're really you think very strategically, and I think that's something that we have to really do in these days. In fact, we probably should do a webinar sometime on strategic planning because there's lots of good ways to do it. But I know a friend of mine took his business from 2.5 million to 500 million, and you have to think a little differently. So I love it when people think outside the box and get creative with marketing and some of the things they do. And what I love about this industry is there's a lot of fun, creative guys in it, and we're a very resilient bunch. And I get a lot of energy from the people in this industry. They're just salt of the earth, great people, and I just love being a part of it. So.
Us too.
And I know you guys do as well.
The other thing I want to tell people, because this is a funny story, not so funny for the owner. I had a guy call me in the last 6 months, said, moved my business literally 2 blocks, but the address went from the main area he worked with into a suburb, no longer on the maps, and it cut his business in half.
Wow.
Yeah, cut his business in half. I mean, I went through and asked him a whole bunch of questions and just said, "Oh, I know why, because you no longer have an address in your main area." And he was like, "What do I do?" I said, "You need to spend the money and go get an address in your main area."
Wow.
So, he's not even a client. He just called in. He had no idea what had happened.
It can't really be a relative's garage. It has to be a legitimate.
Yes.
Where you can put a sign up.
Yeah, you really should. A sign up and where you can get mail.
Because there's a lot of areas where there's a lot of zoning issues with signs and things like that. But if you could hang a shingle on it, you're probably better off.
And you can put a sign on the front window. I mean, but it just has to have a visible sign out front.
A lot of times it's like, well, I've got this roofing buddy and he just, opened up this massive new warehouse and he's growing like crazy, but he's got some extra space. So I'm just going to see if I can park a desk in one of the back rooms in a part of the building he's not even using right now. And, call it Suite B and, use that as an address and, stick a sign out front that's literally just this big. It doesn't have to be massive, but it legitimizes the business presence there. For the strategy to really be able to work.
Nice. So we got another question here on financing options to customers. I don't know. This may not be something. I'm sure you guys have touched on.
Oh yeah, no, it is absolutely. I mean, from the marketing perspective, I will say it works.
Yes.
Everybody should be looking at ways to do that. There's a lot of partners out there. I can just offhand. There's Interbank is one of the big ones. Green Sky, Hearth, which is a little different kind of a program, but it's worth looking at.
Interbank, and spell that because I think it's
ENER. It's actually inner, like energy, Interbank.
Like energy, yep.
ENERTER,
Yeah.
Interbank.
ENERBANK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Green Sky is one that I don't have a relationship with any of these, but we've certainly talked to them before because it's going to help you pick up. For some people in some areas, it can help you pick up 20 to 30% more of the bigger jobs that you're estimating because now you're giving away for somebody to be able to pay for.
So is that 12 months same as cash? Or
yeah, that's a lot of them have those types of products where it's 12 months same as cash, and then it rolls into like a 4.99% loan for 36 months, 48 months, depending on the size of the job and the terms.
Turns into a term note at that point.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I've actually used Interbank, and they're great. I mean, they were easy to do, just simple.
So when you do that, you get your money right away. If their credit qualifies them, you get paid within a few days, and then you're done with them. Interbank takes over from there. They take all the risk at that point in time. So if Interbank never gets paid, there's no recourse on you.
Right. And I think the way that it's my understanding that they charge a small fee up front. So they get a fee, and then where they're really banking and making their money is on interest for people who don't carry out the 12 month same as cash.
Right. So I think that's a good strategy. I know a lot of companies that use Interbank, and they basically said it does increase sales because now you've got easy financing. I may not have 10 grand, but I know I'm getting my tax return next spring, and I know I can make payments on it. But I have to. Chimney's falling down. I got to do something.
Mhm.
So that's a great way to help people with some of their issues for sure. So we're starting to get a few questions. Where do I send my shirt size again? Send it to Penny Seals at csia.org, and we will. She'll forward those on to me. So I'll need your name and your company name and your ship to address, and I'm going to send you. And Steve Scally just put it up on the Q&A board there, Interbank. So we'll send you a shirt, and really been a great discussion. We got about 4 minutes. Any parting wisdom that you guys want to give me? Any good jokes you've heard lately or anything?
No.
Well, I tell you, the only thing that I will say, and then I'll turn it over to Carter, is this. One of the things that this entire COVID pandemic, whatever you want to call it, has really shown me is the character of the people in the chimney industry. I mean, I have been blown away by just how resilient they have, great mindsets. They care, they band together, and it's just the character. And I cannot tell you how pleased that we are as a company to be just a part of the industry. And it's just shown me that even more so than I already knew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly don't hesitate to reach out to, Spark Marketer or Brandtastic. Both of those guys are great at helping people, solve their marketing problems and really a lot of business problems. I mean, I love what Peter Drucker said years ago. Business exists for two things, and that's to innovate and to market. And the way you innovate is you innovate in the way you offer services, the way you treat your customers, the geographic area you cover, something like the location strategy, and you market. And so if you can focus on those two disciplines, you can win in any market space that you're in. So
Yeah.
A lot of people think marketing is an expense, but it's really an investment because if it makes you money, it doesn't cost you anything. So, I mean, don't be afraid to spend money on marketing because it's an investment. It'll pay a lot better than any investment you can buy in the stock market or maybe not all of the investment in the stock market, but I've never been really good at picking stocks. But I know that investing in my own business has always been a win. And the good thing is if an investment doesn't pay out, you can change it up and try it. But, when you partner with someone like Spark or Brandtastic or any other marketing company that really knows our industry, they know what already works. So you can avoid a lot of the mistakes and save yourself a lot of money by paying a professional to do it for you or to do it with you, so to speak. And so we're gonna close this out, and I'm gonna turn it over to Chuck again. Well, I don't want to steal any of his thunder, but just been an honor to be with you today. We hope this has been helpful, and we wish you the best of luck and just to have a great busy season and a prosperous one and safe one. And we'll see you next month on the 24th. I think it'll be the last one for the year. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate you. You've been awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Great
Thank you.
questions.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Carter and Taylor. I always talk about, knowing your numbers and your pricing. And I think just as important as doing the right type of marketing and knowing your area and doing it correctly. So this was very, very salient and valuable information that we provided today using you guys as experts. And, go to sparkmarketer.com, check out Closing Commander. Everything they're talking about is on there and they can provide that service for you. And John Meredith, thank you again for, doing a great job hosting this for the CSIA and the National Chimney Sweep Guild. And we thank all of you for joining us. We know this time of year, your time is getting more and more precious as we move forward to the future going into busy season. So anybody that joined in and participated, we really need your participation. And we want to make sure that we're providing a relevant, content for you. Our associations believe in our members and our credential holders. And, you know, we want to provide timely topics that are going to help you grow your business or maintain your business and make you profitable. As John alluded to, the next program that we're going to have is about a month from now. It's going to be on September 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be Proposals Made Easy with in-home sales by Alan Rush, who's a very good guru of doing in-home sales. So you're going to be emailed shortly a feedback survey from Penny. Please fill it out as soon as you can. We want to hear what you had to say so we can, again, provide relevant content for you, our credential holders, and the National Chimney Sweep Guild members. I want you to remember, CSIA and NCSG were the future of this industry, and we're always working to make the membership and the client experience with us rewarding. So we are family, we stick together. Please stay safe, and we'll see you on the 24th. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.